We've all been there. You set a healthy boundary with someone and you feel good about it for about 5 minutes, and then the guilt begins to set in, and you start thinking about how the other person is feeling and whether you've upset them, or maybe now they're angry and you're regretting having said anything. If this is you and you're ready to overcome your guilt and regret when you set boundaries, then you're in the right place. Today, you're going to learn why you feel guilty and regretful and my 3-step process to overcome guilt and regret when you're setting boundaries. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. Hello. Good to have you here. I'm sort of excited today. I'm feeling saucy. If you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see that I'm wearing kind of a reddish color, and when I wear these colors, I'm feeling saucy. So us dark-haired gals, that's our color. That's our color palette. Anyway, it's great to be here. I am really excited about today's topic. A lot of you wrote in with different kinds of questions that I'm sort of answering in this, bigger way. So hopefully, you'll get your whatever you might have thought about that you wanted to hear about, you'll get it answered today. I am going to do other segments of Ask Dr. Abby soon. And so, you'll get those too. But I also sometimes, if I have enough people writing in a question, I just really turn it into a regular, kind of the regular way I do the podcast. And this was one that came up over and over. So let's jump in. Let's do this thing. And I want to start with this little story. If you get my newsletter, you heard me talk about it, but I'm going to expand quite a bit about it. So, and if you don't get my newsletter yet, why not? Why don't you sign up? It's on the website, and it's a weekly dose of love and wonderfulness in your box. Anyway, so I shared this letter. So I shared this story, I should say. So one of my favorite books is called The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. And I thought it'd be a great idea to have him come on the show to chat about his research and ways to be happy. And I sent a thoughtful and I thought quite fabulous pitch to him and his people. And here's the response I got. I'm going to read this to you. It's really great. Dear Abby, that's me. Thank you so much for reaching out to invite Shawn on your podcast. We love the work you're doing and thank you for being a bright light in the world. Shawn is honored to be invited. Unfortunately, with a full speaking schedule and a young family, plus the work he's doing right now through his nonprofit to support educators during the pandemic, Shawn isn't able to take on anything new. We wish you success with your podcast. We need people like you leading the way forward! ! Okay. This response was so friggin' great, so lovely, that for a minute I didn't register that he said no. That they said, no, thank you. Saying no to people in a loving, clear way is an art form, right? And it's an art. And I would say that Shawn Achor's people are in the Rembrandt category right now, while I often feel, I don't know about you, but like I'm drawing on a wall with crayon, right? So, I'm getting better. And sometimes when I say no to someone, I notice that I'm still feeling guilty though. So, I start thinking, I'm being selfish, or I notice sometimes that I get self-conscious. I might think, what are they going to think about me now? What are they saying about me? And those fear-based responses, because that's what those are, just create more fear-based reactions from other people. And so I'm going to share with you a conversation I had a few years ago that went something like this. Parent, I don't know, at my kid's school, in what I think is a kind of bossy voice, asked me, hey, we need help with the school bake sale. Can I put you down to take a shift from 1 to 4 on Friday? Me, scrambling for something to say, I really can't. I'm just swamped right now, and I'll be at work. Other parent, now very annoyed with me. Well, we're all swamped, so if everyone had that attitude, we'd never raise money for the school. All of us are making sacrifices. If I could have channeled my inner Shawn Achor or his people, my clear and loving response would have been something like, thank you so much for all you're doing for this school. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's so great. I've already reached my own maximum for the volunteer hours I can commit to right now, but please give me plenty of notice in the future so I can make sure to help. And I would have then walked briskly away with all good feelings intact, instead of what actually happened, which, as I recall, was me skulking off in shame and berating myself and being resentful of the other parent. Yeah, that's not the way to go, people. Not the way to go. It's important to know our boundaries and to share them with others in a way that shows love, not fear. And that is the basis of today's podcast, but I'll get into specifics. We don't have to feel bad about it or make excuses or justifications. What do I say all the time? No is a complete sentence and can be said, though, with a smile and a light heart, just like Sean's folks. I mean, it doesn't have to be mean. But of course, how do you get there? Yeah, thanks, Abby, for the news flash that I don't have to be mean. But how do we get there? So I'm going to show you today. Well, first I want to examine really why you're feeling guilty and regretful. And then we'll talk about how to fix it. Because as you know, if you understand the why, you are more motivated and clearer about doing the what. So we'll get there. And I want to mention before I forget that we've now got, again, the podcast on YouTube. If you'd like to watch me while I chat, I'm just sort of staring at the camera. But if you dig that, you want to see this fabulous little sweater I'm wearing, then come watch me. Come watch me on YouTube. And please do me a solid and subscribe to my channel so more people, can find out about the podcast that way too. And don't forget to leave a review for the podcast, please, 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 on iTunes or Audible. We're also on Audible, and so you can leave a review there if iTunes feels too weird or hard. And you have Audible. Even if you don't listen to me there, obviously you can leave a review there. Please show me the love. Show me the love. I'm showing you love. Let's love each other. It's a beautiful world. Okay, so the 3 reasons why you feel guilty when you set a boundary. Let's get to it. Okay, I have 3 major reasons why you end up feeling guilt and regret when you set a boundary. The number 1 reason, it's selfish and mean. That's what you think. You were taught either directly or indirectly that it's selfish to put your own needs first. In other words, prioritizing yourself over others is just plain wrong. And if you believe you're a good person in the world, and who doesn't want to believe that, I'm fabulous, I'm a good person, then you can't be doing that. You can't be mean and yucky and selfish. So now you also might think it's mean to set a boundary because of how others react. And I want to say this, and it's going to sound weird for a minute, but stick with me. It's actually the opposite. When we set loving boundaries, not walls, when we set loving boundaries, we stop feeling resentful. And it actually helps us feel more compassion for the people in our lives. I want that to sink in for just a moment. When you set a boundary, when you don't set the boundary, you're annoyed. You're like I was walking away from that woman. I was like angry at her for asking me something. I had no reason to be angry at her. She's just asking. She's trying to get her stuff done. Thank God for people like her at the school. I thank you. She really is wonderful and doing a great job. The fact that I couldn't help right then or whatever, all that was all my crap. And yeah, maybe she didn't talk to me in the nicest of voices when I said no, but that's still my crap. She's got her own stuff she's dealing with, right? But I didn't need to walk away feeling resentful that she even asked. And that's what happens. We end up feeling resentful of the other person for quote unquote trampling our boundary. And instead, and that's just icky. But you didn't want to set the boundary because you didn't want them to feel bad. Do you see the issue here? It's everybody feeling bad. And again, like with Sean's Acor's no, not you all can feel good. We both sides can feel good. I wasn't happy that he said no, but it felt very real. It felt justifiable. It felt okay. And again, I could have taken it bad though. I could have been like, oh, these stuck up people, they write books and they, I go and buy the book and then they don't even help. I could have, I guess, but there's a way for everybody to win, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I want you to really get that that's a part of this. Okay. The number 2 reason is we don't set these boundaries and we feel guilty and regretful when we do, is we think, what will they think? You're worried about what others will say about you. You might hate disappointing other people. When you say no to coming over to help out on Sunday at your parents' house, you can feel their disappointment, or your siblings are upset about it, and you start to feel guilty. You start saying how sorry you are. I'm so, so sorry, over and over, and you're explaining even more why you can't make it on Sunday. You feel the need to justify in a big way your why your own needs should take precedence. It's like it has to be some epic huge thing, or and I know I can remember way back, and this is usually when I was using, but probably a little bit after my sobriety, I would lie and make some big huge excuse to try to so that I could get out of doing something, because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like it was I could just say no. It had to be some huge epic reason. And I mean, crazy, right? Really crazy. I look back on those days and think, what was I thinking? But I get it. I try to have compassion for myself back then when I just didn't have the kind of emotional tools I have now. I didn't know how to deal with it. And the bottom line is we will often hurt ourselves all because we want others to like or approve of us because we don't want to deal with the backlash. Avoiding is no way to have a close relationship with someone else. It's not. You can't do it. And that's also when we start to regret, because they had that backlash, right? And we're trying to avoid it. And then we think, oh, I'll stand my ground. And then we get all the crap from them. And we think, oh, I never should have done that. I was so stupid to stand my ground. So we really have to stop caring so much what others are thinking. And by the way, you don't know. You think you know and you don't. You're so sure you know and you don't. And even if you did, so what? That's their thoughts. They're allowed to have them. It doesn't mean it needs to change what you're doing. I did do a whole podcast on what how to stop caring what other people think. I did a whole podcast on that. I will link to it in the show notes, abbymedcalf.com/podcast. You can come over and check it out. Or you can search for it on the website. But I did do a whole podcast on that. So anyway, all right. Number 3, will they still like me? Oh, we're so worried about that. We learn boundaries from our families. So I want to talk about this. We learn our boundaries. That's how we learn them, from our families or caregivers, whoever was around. I've talked about boundaries before on a continuum of thin to thick. I did that in the Loving Detachment podcast, which I'll also link to in the show notes. And in those families where the boundaries are too thin, we see enmeshment. You can't tell where one person starts and the other person begins. So there are no boundaries. You're expected to do whatever's asked no matter what. And when that happens, boundaries end up feeling super uncomfortable and even scary. If you grew up with really thick boundaries, it's a little different, because you feel you're usually more kind of avoidant with things, and you feel fine about you don't even think about what other people are thinking. You just sort of do it and walk away. So, but for those of you with thinner boundaries, this is especially hard. And so when you're drawing a boundary in a more enmeshed family system, and I'm not saying enmeshed as a mean thing, or don't get your panties in a twist about that word, but in a system where the boundaries are a little thinner, where it's expected that everybody knows each other's business, that you do what's asked, that your needs are secondary, all that. When you grow up in that kind of family, folks get really upset when you set a boundary. They get even extra upset. And you'll hear things like, some real martyr guilt crap will come at you. If you cared about me, you'd X. If you cared about me in the family, or this or that, or mom or dad, you would do this thing. That's what you'll hear. Oh, mom's lonely. You need to call her every day. It's not a big deal. You see a little bit of gaslighting going on here, don't you? By the way, I'm going to do another future podcast on gaslighting soon, because specifically because I had a few of you write in about that. Anyway, you might hear, well, it was your choice to get that new job. You shouldn't miss family functions because of it, or you moved far away. That was your choice. Hey, yeah, it's going to take you a little longer to get here, but you got to get here. I had a client who used to have these like sacred Tuesday night dinners at his parents' house, and he make a long story short, some other things came up with his own family and his own young kids, and he couldn't keep going. It just was too much. And one of his siblings said something like, I can't believe how selfish you're being, you know, with your kids. And I'm sorry, he had one night a week he could play soccer, which he loved. Sorry, now I'm remembering. He had one night a week he could play soccer, and it was a great outlet for him. It was really important for him, and he was somebody who, worked full time. He had young kids. There was very little time for himself. And I was all for that for now. It's like, you can do family stuff differently. You have to shift. You got to take care of yourself. And literally, yeah, everybody and his parents, everyone, you're so selfish. You're going to want to go play soccer instead of being with us. And they laid on the guilt like no one's business. And of course, he said to me, I think I need to lie. I need to say something else, wanting to avoid that backlash. And he really was regretting it. I should just go, even though he really loved these Tuesday nights with his friends, and he would get that physical exertion, and it just was so good for him on so many levels. And family dinners were not. And again, it's a priority in a moment. Maybe as the kids get older, you'll go back to dinners that night. Or why couldn't they move the family? That's what he had asked them. He asked them to switch the night. He said, hey, I've got this one thing I could do, the soccer thing. Because that's what he and I brainstormed first. So I was like, why don't you just see if you can change it? Why does it have to be on Tuesdays? And he was like, yeah, right, because it's always been. And he asked to have it changed. And everybody asked like he was, oh my God, telling them to chop up babies and eat them. I mean, they reacted so horribly about it. And again, with all the, you're so selfish, why should we move everything because of you? We've been doing it this night, it's tradition. There was no real reason, by the way. It wasn't like other night. I could maybe see if everybody else had things on the other nights already planned around this. Even then, I would say, well, could you move your stuff? You're asking, they were asking my client to move his stuff. Why couldn't they move their stuff? But he was the youngest in the family, and there was that thing of just sort of dismissing when he had a need. But anyway, but you can see, right, where the big problem is here. Okay. So there, there's a book, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, and I love this quote. She said, and I'm going to read it. She says, it's also impossible to practice compassion from a place of resentment. So it's impossible to practice compassion from a place of resentment. I want you to really hear that. If we're going to practice acceptance and compassion, we need boundaries and accountability. So there you go. Yeah. Brene said it, so you know it's real. Okay. Why you need to set and hold boundaries. So let's talk right now about why you need to set and hold boundaries. You want to set and hold boundaries because it's the key to true emotional closeness and intimacy. That's the very bottom line. Not just with others, but with yourself. When you don't set or keep a boundary, you end up feeling fear-based emotions, right? You get them all over the place. What do you get? You get resentment. You get some helplessness. You get hopelessness. You get some rage, maybe. Frustration. Exhaustion. That's biggie. You can't build a healthy relationship on these feelings. So if you feel like you're doing this for someone else because you're not being quote unquote selfish, you're not, think of that. Okay, I love this person, so I want to do this thing for them, because I should, because I love them, because I'm supposed to, whatever. But you end up feeling all these feelings for them that aren't loving. Literally, you are undoing whatever it is that you're doing. I need you to see how frigging crazy it is to be doing it this way. You're not building closeness and intimacy. You're building resentment and exhaustion, and you're not taking care of yourself. And you're telling everybody, I have no worth. I am unworthy. I am last on the list. What a load of crap. Okay, I'm taking a breath from my Jewish mother bossy yelling. Okay, and I want to say this too. When you don't hold a boundary, you're being fake. I know. I'm saying it. You can come at me. You're being fake. You're not showing the other person the true you. When you don't say what you really feel and what you really need, you're not speaking your truth, and you end up, again, feeling disconnected and isolating, right? Or isolated, I should say. Like, how is this helping your relationship? How is this making everything better? How is this truly even serving the other person because you're actually disconnecting from them? Yeah, I know. And you're starting to think all kinds of things about them, which is so unfair. They're selfish. They're mean. They're this. They're that. They're needy. They're whatever. When you're the issue, you just need to set a boundary. They can be however they want. It's up to you. It's up to you to hold your boundary, not other people. Okay. I'm saying it. I'm speaking some truth today. I am bringing you the loving truth because this is what it's about. Because I want you to be happy. How many times do I say that on the podcast? Please, please. I can't tell you how many clients I work with who are feeling these feelings and end up seeing me, end up paying for therapy. And I get it. We're just often just brought up this way. This is part of the family culture. This is part of what we were taught was right. Again, either directly or indirectly, but it's really not serving you, again, or the other person. It's never serving them when your energy towards them in any way is resentful, angry, distrusting, disconnected, all those things. It's not cool. Okay, here we go. You ready? Are you ready? Drum roll. We're coming at you. Here is the 3-step process to overcome guilt and regret when setting boundaries. Here we go. Ready? First things first. I'm not even getting to it yet, but hold on. I do have to say this first. It's going to take a minute to stop feeling guilt and regret when you set boundaries. But I will tell you this, if you practice this process long enough, you'll find that the feelings either stop coming up, or when they do, they're not as strong and they don't last as long. And you're able, believe it or not, to dispense with them pretty efficiently, pretty quickly. That's the real beauty of this. The second point I want to make before I jump into my 3-step process is that you need to make sure that you're making healthy boundaries and practicing loving detachment before you start this process. And I have, again, podcasts on both of those, how to set boundaries, how to hold them, all that. I have, podcasts on loving detachment, but you've got to get better at that. I don't know what else to say. You got to put in some time and energy for that one. So that will help this process immeasurably. And I want to say the goal of this 3-step process is very simple. It's to move you from a fear-based emotion and reaction that you have, such as anger, helplessness, guilt, regret, frustration, resignation, resentment. We're going to move from those to a love-based emotion, compassion, understanding, patience, love, kindness, gentleness, all the good things, okay? And I'm going to come at you with something a little different now, so we're going to get into it. You ready? All right, so step 1. You have to acknowledge how you feel in the moment. And as usual, I just can't stop talking about this, can I? You're sick of it. I don't care. You've got to be mindful to notice that you're feeling guilt, shame, or regret in a moment. If you know you need to set a boundary, when you know you need to set a boundary, it's a bit easier because you can set yourself up for success, right? You can set yourself up to win here. But you have to notice when it's coming up. When someone's asking you something, you have to have it in that moment. And again, I have a free mindfulness starter kit that you can download because that's how much I love you. It's totally free. That you can download. Come over to the website and you'll see it on the show notes page. All right. So now obviously this is tougher when a boundary is being kind of tested on the fly, like in the example I gave earlier of me being asked to help out with the bake sale, right? That was on the fly. I'm going to tell you this. Likely the very first thing you feel is anger because this person is knowingly or unknowingly pushing on your boundary. Your job is to notice that anger so you can stop it in its tracks. You might be such an epic people pleaser, and I love you. I love you. I love you, people pleasers. I love you. That you don't even notice any feelings and you just jump into action, but you definitely have them. We all have feelings. I hear people say sometimes, well, I just did it. Well, I just do stuff. I don't know why. I just do it. Well, you do know what you're having a thought. That's why there's a thought, which is creating a feeling, which is creating action. That's what's happening, and you've got to trace that back. It takes a minute, and again, when you practice your mindfulness, you get better at that. But that's really how you start to unravel this. How you start to pull apart the pieces to get better at them. The problem probably is that you've just become an expert at ignoring your feelings or what's really going on. You just have jumped right into things, so you don't even notice. And every thought creates some feeling. It's something. And it's important to stop and acknowledge what's going on for you in that moment. And I want to say this, do it without judgment or impatience. I know. Acknowledge the feeling, be with it for a moment. That's all. So here you are, you're in a situation, you're at your mom's house, and she's asked you to come over on Saturday and clean the gutters. I'm making stuff up. I have no idea. And I have a better one. Actually, I have one from a client not that long ago. I have a client who was visiting her mom, and her mom said to her, "Oh, you're going to." So this client has a sister, and the sister's sister has a live-in fiance. The fiance, they have kids together, but the fiance also has another child who actually lives full time with the mom. But so my client's mother was asking her to go to this child, her sister's fiance's child, a recital. She said, "Oh, the whole family's going. He's coming in the family. So she's going to be one of my granddaughters. So we're all going." And my client was in her very busy season at work. She has a couple very busy seasons at work where it's impossible even to do things for her own kids. And, it's just twice a year and she knows it and whatever. And, here's her mother saying, "You're going to come, right?" to this recital for this girl. By the way, she hadn't even met her yet. That's how little time this girl was spending with her dad. And, so here's my client trying to set the boundary. And she was really angry that her mother would even ask this of her, knowing, she was telling me, she goes, "We had just been talking about how busy I was. We had just been talking about it because, of course, her mother was angry that she hadn't come to visit her in a couple weeks." And again, my client was like, "Remember, twice a year during this time, I just can't visit. Like, this is just what happens." And she felt guilty enough that she went and visited it anyway. See what happens. And then here her mother is trampling the boundary more, asking for more. Now, let me give a few things here. Number one, which my client said to me, it was so great. She said, she goes, "My first mistake was she gave up on her own boundaries." So what did her mother think? Her mother now thinks, "Oh, if I nag her enough, I can get her to do what I want. So I will proceed to nag her quite a bit about these things." Once you give in a little, of course more, and that's what I said to her. We were talking in session. I was like, "Of course she asked you to also go to your sister's fiance's daughter's recital, because it wasn't a recital, actually it was a play, but whatever. Because you said no to this other boundary, but then said yes. So here's another one. So now I can just open the floodgates. I can ask for all the things. You've got to keep your boundaries. You have to, stay with them. Remember what I say a lot about boundaries is that you want to keep your boundary no matter how other people act. If they get upset, it doesn't matter. If they act super nice, it doesn't matter. You don't change the boundary based on what other people are doing. Ever. So I use this example a lot because it's an easy one for people to get. I have a time of curfew for my kids. They always have to be home by curfew. Just because they're really good and stay on the curfew and come home at the right time all the time doesn't mean I then go, "Oh, you can stay out a little later next time. You can, have a little more of whatever." It's not the boundary. The boundary is you come home on time. That's what you're supposed to do, and you did it. Great, we're done. But that's what happens with people. They, the kids start wheedling, like, "Oh, come on, I'm always good. Can I just da, 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 da?" And, and then I think I shared with you guys, this did happen once when I gave in to my Max, and I made the boundary later, the curfew later, and then he was later after that. And I was furious furious because I was thinking, I gave you this, I was so nice and I gave you this extra thing and then you took advantage. Yeah. Can you hear it? Can you hear it when I tell you, when the professional tells you? Because of course I'm human and I do stuff like this too. Do you see how crazy that is? So that was all on me. I said the boundary's not important. I said, sure, let's move it around. And then he moved it a little more. Of course he did. He's a teenager. It's his job. So yes, he's responsible that he did that. But mostly that's on me. And I have no right to be furious at him. No right at all. I can only be furious at myself. Thank you very much. All right. That's step 1. Get with it. Step 2, and this is the biggie. Here we go. Are you ready? Again, another drum roll. I want you to focus on empathy, not sympathy. This is really what it all boils down to in a lot of ways. I'm taking a breath. I'm getting centered to talk to you. Okay. When we feel sympathy for someone, we get into doing. So, a sad example would be if let's say your best friend's father dies. I know, very sad. Of course you feel sympathy for them. And of course you would get into some kind of action mode and think about, what you can do to make things better or easier for your friend. You might call and check in every day. You might cook, your friend meals all the time. This is, of course, a lovely response. This is the way it should be. That's that sympathy. That's when you kind of give in a little more to what you usually do. You might, your boundary might be, oh, I don't go out during the week because I have work and school and stuff and I'm really busy. But here's your friend, right? And it's sympathy and this event, her father's not going to die often. This is a very special event. Obviously, everything is not black. You can't have black and white boundaries either. I know that might sound contradictory to what I've said, but of course you can't, because that's sick, fear-based thinking. That's walls, not boundaries. So, of course I have this boundary that I don't go out at night. But however, my best friend's father just died. I need to, I'm going to go out during the week. Maybe not every night, maybe not whatever, but I'm going to go out of my way to move my own things around to make this happen. Now, if you have a friend who always has emergencies every other day that you're always having to change your things for, I'm going to tell you to get back to your boundary. Do you see the difference here? Because that's something else. That's someone you're being taken advantage of, but mostly I don't put that on the other people. I put that on you. Again, you're not keeping your boundary and the person just keeps asking because they see no reason not to. Why wouldn't I keep asking and keep doing it? How do I know that's not okay? You're not telling me it's not okay. So I don't even know if they're taking advantage of you at that point. They're just asking. You can say no, right? I don't care that you get kickback. I don't care that you get feedback you don't like. You still can say no. So, but do you see this here? This is really important. So that's the sympathy. However, so when you've set a boundary, sympathy is not a healthy response. When you've set a general boundary in relationships, you're not doing sympathy. Instead, you want to focus on empathy. And this means you have compassion and patience for the other person's experience, but you don't take it on. Okay? You don't take it on. And I'm going to give you the secret. Are you ready? There's a really secret way of doing this. It's perfect. This will change your life. If you like it, I'm coming at you with change your life right now. Instead of thinking, what can I do to make this better? What can I do to make this better for this person? That's the sympathy and that's the action. We don't want it. Instead, I want you to shift that to, what can I think to make this better? What can I think to make this better? Then take a breath and spend a minute shifting what your thoughts are about what's happening and come from that compassionate and empathetic place. Do you hear me? So I have this boundary with my, my mom that, I'm not going to go over there during the week, let's say, and she keeps pushing and wanting me to come and telling me I'm selfish and pushing every little button I have. And we know that our families are the best at pushing our buttons because they installed them, right? So she's pushing all my buttons and I'm bleh. And so instead of thinking what we get into, what can I do? Okay, what can I do? What can I do? I guess I can move this thing around. I guess I can do this, or maybe I'll try to do that, or maybe I'll stop answering her calls. That's something I can do, right? I'll avoid. We think of this. Instead, what can I think? What can I think? So, well, I can think my mom loves me a lot and really she believes she's doing the right thing to raise a good daughter. Maybe I could think that. Maybe I could realize my mom is very fear-based, always has been. This is her, how she was raised, what she thinks is right. So, but I don't have to take that on. And I can just send love to her and compassion. I can also think my mom is doing the best with the tools she has, and her tools suck. And I can be loving and caring and compassionate as I tell her that's just not possible. And what else can I think? I can think that I can think something about myself that, I actually give in a lot to this stuff. So I can see why she keeps pushing because she just assumes I will. I'm not honest about what I really feel about this. And so, of course, this other person's picking up on my dishonesty, and that's creating some friction and problems. And I just have to really need to be honest and stand my ground. Do you see what can I think? That's not doing. If you start to do, stop that. What else could I think, obviously in a more positive vein, about what's happening? And again, come from that place. And I will say, I often find it's easiest to have some sort of mantra at the ready. It's often a lot in those moments, when everything's going on, to remember like all the things Abby said to do. So you could just have a mantra ready, which will allow you to stop your fear-based reaction, the doing, the jumping into the doing. And the mantra just needs to be something that's easy for you to remember. And it needs to be something you believe. Okay, it needs to be something you believe. So you might say no, and then in your head you're like, setting boundaries is kind and loving. I'm creating boundaries, not walls. I love this other person. Setting boundaries helps people see the real me. This is great. They're really getting to know the real me. It's time. My boundaries are healthy and don't need an explanation. That's another good mantra to have. I don't have to justify why I have a boundary. I have compassion in this moment for both of us. That's a good mantra. We're all doing the best with the tools we have. Like I said, maybe that one. I love this person, so I'm setting a boundary. One of my favorites I do actually is feelings aren't facts. This guilt is an old belief. My new belief is that it's healthy to feel compassion instead of resentment for this person. My feelings are not facts. I don't have to do what I feel. Don't believe everything I think is another great little mantra you could have. You're not responsible. Oh, it's a good one. I'm not responsible for anyone else's feelings. It's not my responsibility to make anyone else uncomfortable. It's only my responsibility to be kind to myself and others. And people push back with me a lot about that one. It is not your responsibility what other people feel. As long, your responsibility is you don't need to make them comfortable. That's on them. You're infantilizing other people if you do that. It is your responsibility to make sure you're coming from a loving place, that you are kind, that you are congruent, that you can say, like Sean Acor, you can say no very kindly. You can be very clear. He even gave a few reasons why. He even kind of explained a little, which was helpful. I would say in general, don't do too much explaining, because then people go after the explanation. So I don't really like the explanation in general. I get it. I get why it was appropriate there. Again, it's not always black and white. But you don't want to get too into explaining or justifying why, because people just, well, you could just do that another night. Well, why isn't it? And they start arguing with you about your points, and you're screwed. You're totally screwed. So just be mindful about that piece. So empathy, not sympathy. Step 3 is hold your ground with what I call the yes and. Excuse me. A yes and. I'm getting a sip of water. All right. I want to say this well. When you hold your boundary with love, again, all the loving emotions, empathy, compassion, patience, understanding, all the good things, you'll feel different because you'll be getting a different response. So it helps you not feel guilty. When you don't stop that initial fear response and react from that place, that's when you get into trouble with the other person's reaction. When you're in fear, they'll be in fear. That's what happens all the time. So you want to make sure you stay in that loving place. And I'm telling you, I literally have thousands of examples of people coming back to me, clients and friends and my own examples, coming back and saying, holy crap, that worked. I can't believe it. When we are real, when we connect with the other person about this thing, that's where you can hold the boundary with love. And that's the yes and. But let me just say, so do not, so here's what you don't do, and I'll talk about the yes and a little more. Don't say you're sorry. Never, ever apologize for setting or holding a boundary. Don't. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry has been very hard to take out of my language, and I still struggle with it, I have to tell you, which is scary to me. Number two, also, don't argue. Don't argue. That's why you don't give all the extras, but don't argue about your boundary. Don't try to, which means don't justify it. Don't explain it. Don't do all that, because that's really arguing in wolf's clothing. That's really what's happening there. Don't ever ask to be understood or ask for permission. Don't do it. People might not understand your boundary. You got to get over it. I say with love. You got to move on. People they're going to be who they are. They're going to do what they do. So if you're always looking for permission to set the boundary or that they understand and it's good and that's all that people-pleasing crap that'll kill you. So just move from that. Again, the empathy is there, though, remember. It's just not that clawing worry about what they're thinking. Don't say but. Don't say, well, here's my boundary, but, don't go there. So again, instead, I want you to have a yes and. And let me give you some. What do I always do? I give you real life examples because I love you. And I actually took these recently from people. Literally, I was in session going, I got to write that down because I'm going to use it on the podcast. I had someone say, she was saying no, someone is inviting her somewhere. And I think it was her dad, actually. I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was her brother. And they were telling her they had to come to this thing with her, and I really need you there, and this whole thing. And she just really couldn't do it. It would have been really horrible for her. And she's very close to her brother, but again, kind of in a mesh way. And he's always got something going on, and she's always there to fix it, kind of thing. And she's had to take herself out of that role, which has been very hard. And she said, she said his name. And she said, I can feel that you're disappointed. I won't be coming with you. And I still need to stay home that day. That's a yes and. Yes, I can feel what you're feeling, and I still need to stay home that day. It seems, here's another one. It seems you're angry. You seem angry that I can't help you on Saturday. I understand. Definitely give me more notice in the future, and I'll try my best to help out. And that's kind of the and. You could say and. Give me more notice, Don't say but, don't say, but give me more notice. It turns the tenor of this. It's yes and, not but. So, I understand that you're upset that I'm not coming or that I'm not doing this thing. I get it. I hear you. And then you could, and I still can't come. And I still need to do whatever. And I still, right? And you can even leave the and off and just stop with, it's clear, I get it, you're angry. And just leave it and see what happens next. It's hard to be quiet in these situations, but it's a really, really good thing, I'll tell you that. One that I use a lot, when people ask for money, I might say something like, this is such a worthy cause, and I've already earmarked my donation money for the year. So why don't you drop me an email in December, and I'll see if I can put that on next year's giving list. I say that a lot. I get asked for money all the time, everywhere. And I think some of it's just, I'm a counselor, maybe I'm a psychologist. I'm supposed to give all my money away. I don't really know what it is, but I guess to give money a lot. And I I do give quite a bit. Maybe that's why that energy is there. I don't know. But for me, I've had to be very clear about my boundaries around that. And, like my kids' school, how much money does a kid's school ask for? I could just write blank checks all day long, but I don't. I earmark every year amount of money I'm going to give to the school. And I always have a little bit of a slush fund in there, knowing that, the library might ask me for money or something else. But I know there's like, $1,000, whatever it is that I'm definitely going to give. And then I know on top of that, is there another, 2,000, if your school, if you're loaded another 10,000, I don't know, 250, whatever your number is, you have that number, and then you maybe put in a little bit, not being sure what else might come up. And that's fine. But like your kid's school, you want to support with money. So here we go. There's that part. I had someone recently get asked to plan a party for her grandfather's birthday by her great aunt. And, and again, there were lots of other people in between. And this client I have has 3 kids, has a full-time job. I mean, it's crazy, but she's very efficient and together. And so, this great aunt skipped over, 12 generations and about 100 other people to ask my client to do it. And because she's always done it in the past, and we're doing things differently. And she said, hey, I can't plan the party. And I'm happy to be part of the cleanup crew that day. I'll make sure that, we stay a little extra time at the end, and I'll get my kids and we'll all help clean up. That was it. I can't do it, and here's what I can. So there's a bunch of ways there to give you to kind of do the yes and in different ways. And in the end, I want you to remember that you just can't control other people's reactions. Your job is to make sure you're being kind, patient, and even loving when you say what you need. That's your job. I can't say this enough. That's it. You want to come from love-based, not fear-based. And that's really, when you're feeling guilt and regret, that's all your fear. And so the better you get at being in a different space with your feelings, being patient with yourself, being kind to yourself. It's not very kind to yourself to trample your own boundaries for someone else. The more you do that, I promise you, the happier you will be in the end. And just remember, in the beginning, when you set boundaries, people push up against them when you haven't been holding them. That's what they do, because you've taught them that you don't hold your boundaries. So again, don't blame them. Just get really good on keeping your boundaries. Don't get up in their face. You can't control them. I know, I've tried to control everybody. I'm trying to control you right now. Please, I'm the control queen. I get it. But you can't do it. So you've got to figure out another thing. So there you have it. This is your way to overcome guilt and regret when setting boundaries. Make sure, remember to come over to the website, abbymedcalf.com/podcast, and go to the show notes page and download all the goodies and all the things and all the help you can have. And please, again, make sure that you leave a review for the podcast and subscribe and all the good things, so that we can dominate the world with love, so that the podcast I can have world domination. Everyone can get this information and feel happier and healthier in their lives, because that's what we're looking to do. That is it for today. I love you. Thank you for being here with me. I'm so just appreciative. I love the questions coming in. So good. Again, I think many of you are listening right now knowing I answered your question because you asked some form of this. So that's the good news. I really get all my best ideas from my clients and from you. So keep them coming. Abby@abbymedcalf.com, or you can go to the contact page at the website. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.